Geocachomaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to GeoGearHeads. This show is better than baseball. Let me tell you, we've got folks who are giving up baseball games just to watch GeoGearHeads tonight. I am Chris of the Northwest with our ever-present host, Daryl W4, and have we got a show for you tonight? Daryl, tell them what they've won.
Well, I don't think they've necessarily won anything yet, but that might be coming up because we've got Dano of Team Pugach back on the show, and he likes to give away stuff whenever he comes on.
I do. I feel obligated. I've won probably between $100 and $200 worth of stuff on your show, so it's only natural that I got to give away stuff as well.
Is that what it is?
It's karma.
Reciprocal thing.
Yeah. But, we can keep this baseball lingo going because, oh, man, it's great to be back. Last time was, what, a few months ago. But before that, it was like a year ago. And it was a double header. That's baseball terminology, right?
Yeah.
I think so. But, yeah, we've been talking about bicycles pretty much every April for as long as I've been listening to your show. And it's great to be back and talking about the wheels.
I think it's actually about 2 years because the last biking show was 176, so that'd be about 2 years ago.
Well, we did the Gear Your Bike, but then we did another one, like a bike maintenance one.
Oh, yeah, I think, you're right.
So we did
the bike maintenance instead the last time.
Yeah, we did 2 Februaries, and then this one, but you know what I mean, yeah. But the snow's gone in Maine. I tried getting my lawnmower to work today. It won't turn on. It's just sad. It cried.
Try the spark plug. I had to change mine this year.
That's what I think, because I paid the big box home improvement store to do a complete tune-up, and they said, "Oh, you should get a spark plug." And I said, "Nah, I don't need a spark plug."
I said the same thing. Yeah, I had already taken the effort to take my carburetor apart, clean it, put it back together. Still didn't work. Let me go get a spark plug. Boom! Hey, look at that.
It works. But yeah. I hope to go geocaching more. It's been a long time since I've been geocaching. I hope to go by bicycle. It'd be really cool if my wife Heather would let me get a penny farthing. Then I could really geocache in style.
I would love to try one of those things out, but they scare me a lot. Because for anyone who doesn't know what those penny farthings are, that's where it has the really big wheel in the front that you actually direct drive pedal, and then the tiny little one in the back.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where they do make them still. They got some cool guys online because like the steampunk community and Burning Man and all that. And they make them, and they're about $1.50 one day. One day I'll get one. We had one as a prop in my wedding, so at least I have photos of me with one. But nobody knows until now I didn't ride it.
I always think balance is difficult on those. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm. It's gotta be.
I mean, first of all, you're like 70 feet off the ground on one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, maybe not that much, but
Yeah, 4 to 7.
Well, yeah, it depends on which one. The big historic museum over here, Henry Ford, used to, when I was a kid, have a couple of the penny farthings on the rollers, and they were actually bracketed so you couldn't tip over. And then they had the stairs so that you could get up and actually try it. And I don't remember ever being tall enough that I could actually use it, but they had them there, and I'm sure they went away because someone got hurt.
Yeah,
they had training wheels, but anyway,
it was worse than the training wheels. They were like welded into place.
Now, weren't they named after a coin in England?
I believe so. Where's our official podcast Wikipedia fact checker? In the
chat room. They're
Do we have a
just
research department on this podcast?
Well, Limax is definitely in there.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, and looks like Doug Jones is going to come to Boston. Perhaps I can drive down there.
Ooh.
Visit my parents and hang out with one of my internet buddies. I could do that all in a day.
They were named after 2 coins, says Limax.
Ooh, there we go.
2 coins in a fountain. No, I won't keep
a penny and a farthing.
Yeah.
Which is how that comes to be, I guess.
One for each wheel, right?
Correct.
The farthing is
Exactly.
the penny.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I don't know that that's right, but
Maybe
that's
the other way around.
Well, who wants to win something, right? I want to.
Oh, Mr. Carter.
Yes. All right. So if you guys remember the last time I was on, episode 176, in other times, I always talk about the complete bicycle repair guide. It's put out by this mechanic from Boston. He wrote for Bicycling Magazine. Great book. It's where I learned a lot of what I know. Well, tonight I'm going to give it away to you. Now, I'm cheap, or maybe just not well prepared, and I forgot to buy the book. So you're getting the digital Kindle version instead of the hard copy. This way, everyone worldwide can participate, and I'm not going to go broke. And I know not everyone has a Kindle, but nowadays you can download the Kindle app on your smartphone. You can download it on your computer, whether you have a Mac or PC. So there's no excuse. So if you want to win a copy of this book, simply email geogearheads@cashemaniacs.com with the subject Dano Contest and the correct answer to what type of bicycle do I want to ride when I go geocaching. Here's a hint. We've been talking about it for the past 5 minutes.
The 2-coin one.
All right, and make sure that you submit that by 6:45 p.m. Pacific, 9:45 p.m. Eastern, today, May 11th, 2017. And when you email it, just make sure you have your geocaching screen name in there so we can announce at the end. And I will actually place the order. I already have a window open. So you're going to get that email confirmation before we disconnect from the show tonight.
Wow.
Talk
All you have
about
to do
efficiency.
is put your email address in there and off it goes.
Oh, no. My web browser remembers all that stuff. It's just
Okay. So should they just email Amazon directly?
Yeah, just tell them to put it on my account.
Okay. And a drone will deliver it.
A digital drone.
A digital drone.
Yeah.
It'll be in your dream.
Ooh, man, that's creepy.
Yeah, I was going to say, now I'm getting really scared. The subject line for Wet Coaster, who's asking again, is Dano Contest. And the email address for anyone who's wondering is geogearheads@cashemaniacs.com. Well, why don't we actually get into the meat of tonight's show? And we kind of let Dano run wild with this. So we're going to start off with the stuff that you like to see for making the outing a little easier and more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. Doesn't Dano always run a little wild?
Oh, yeah.
No, usually he rides a little wild, but
oh, gotcha.
I do. I'm getting better at it. It's been many years since I crashed into a car. I'm not a messenger anymore, so that helps. But I'm safer now. I'm disciplined wild.
Wait a minute. It's an oxymoron. But go ahead. I want to see where you're going.
Well, I'm not even going to look at the show notes because I want to keep the chat up in case people have questions and tidbits that are useful. But yeah, things to bring. I think about when I go for a bike ride, whether it's geocaching or not, there's a few things I want to have no matter what. Of the obvious, what if you get a flat? So let's start with the basics. You get a flat tire. What are you going to do?
Call AAA. No, seriously, they offer a bicycle option now.
Really?
Yeah. My wife just told me about it this week.
Nice. There was this kid, I don't know his name, when I was living in Boston about 10 years ago. He had a Bachfiat, which is one of those Dutch bikes with a big wooden box on the front. Kind of looks like you're on a tandem, but you're sitting in the back. And the box is in the front. And he was a on-call bicycle repairman. So if you needed help, you called him and he rode to your house, or he rode out on the bike path or out in the suburbs, wherever you were, and he helped you. And that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Sounds like an old Monty Python sketch.
Yeah. Bicycle repairman. But yeah, so a flat kit is important. Even though I was a professional bicycle mechanic, I am horrible at those patch kits. Some people are great and they're patient, and they'll take the little piece of sandpaper and they'll scrape the rubber and they'll put on the epoxy and they'll count and they'll contemplate life, and years go by and they contemplate life some more, and then they put the patch on and it just magically works. It's like a sticker with super glue. I can't get those to work. I need 3 to 4 patches for the tiniest hole. So I always
right
carry
with you.
Yeah. I don't know who invented those. I even tried. I remember Park Tool came out with them first, where they had the ones that were glueless, and you just slap them on like a sticker. Still, like I can't get those to work. So I always carry spare tube. But what's good with one spare tube if you get two flats? Because it does happen. So I carry two spare tubes. And if somebody wants to patch my tubes and keep them, that's fine. Friends used to do that all the time. But I find that I go through so few flats now that it's worth having two tubes on me, where I might go years without using them. But even more important is, Daryl, or even you, Chris, have you ever gone on a bike ride? And this is important because we were talking at the pre-show how you're going to bike commute to work. You get a flat, you fix it, and then you get another one very shortly after.
What are you supposed to do? How am I going to get to work?
I know. Well, the problem here is that if you keep getting flats, it could be something wrong with your tire.
You could have something stuck in your tire that you can't see.
Yeah. Well, are you going to carry another tire with you wherever you go? You could, but it's kind of a pain.
But you need a big backpack.
We can get you one. I'll show you all the best backpacks. I know the ones you can get copier paper boxes in there. They're comfy. I've tested them out. We'll get you hooked up.
Okay.
But what's really great is if you have a hole in your tire, like from a nail or a screw, what happens is your tubes are going to keep getting caught in that hole, and then you're going to keep getting flats. But for $1, I can prevent that.
No.
I can.
Wait, now how much would I pay? Still only $1.
Still only $1. The great thing about a dollar bill is that they're part cotton. So you can actually put the dollar bill in your tire between the tube and the tire where the hole is. And then you're not going to get those flats anymore. Now,
that's cool.
Put $1 in your tool bag, because you don't want to be like me and all you had on you was a 20. And about 100 miles later, there was no more green ink on that paper. That 20 was useless.
Ooh. What about a quarter?
No, that's too bulky.
No. What about a Canadian bill that's polycarbonate?
Ooh, that would be faster.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking that would actually work a little bit better, but I wonder if it might be too thin. Not necessarily thin, but too smooth. It starts sliding around.
I'm going through the some comments here in the chat, and apparently Doug likes to carry a second bicycle with him. I assume it's a folding bicycle. And then Gary wants to know, what's a dollar bill? That's true. Like I tried putting a debit card in there and it just didn't work. Apparently tires don't have the chip reader yet. Come on, Continental, you got to catch up on this thing.
Exactly. And Limax wants to know, does that work with Canadian tires with the US dollar bill? Yes, and it's like $1.36. I mean, you get a real bonus out of it. Yeah.
I only buy German tires because I find that they tend to be higher quality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Schwalbe. Yep. Well, no, euros, because when I went to Germany, when did I go to Germany? 4 summers ago, I was in Eastern Germany, and they actually gave me some, was it the Republic of Germany coins? And then I got back to Western Germany, and they wouldn't let me use them. They would only take the euro. So I got stuck with all this money I couldn't use.
Fun. Now, one of the tips I've heard from several people who ride is if you are going to take your bike out and ride on a regular basis, replace the tires every year. If you're not, or every 2 years, if you're not going to take your bike out and ride often, replace them every year.
It makes sense because they get cracking and they fray, and
and if it's sitting, it is more likely to break down.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the load stays there on the one spot. If it's hanging, it's not as bad, but you're more likely to get the dry rot and everything. So, as a general rule, at least replace your tubes every 2 years. You'll save yourself a lot of headaches.
Interesting.
I don't tend to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm pretty bad. I like the old school look of bikes. So I actually buy sometimes for like road bikes the Panasonic Pasella Tour Racers, so they still have that nice tan gum wall on the side. And when those get really old, it gets really like fibrous, almost looks like cracked hay or something on the side of your tires because it's just so old and worn out.
Yeah, I remember those well. I actually had a set of those on the old Trek 450 touring bike.
Yeah, I'd buy the touring ones, usually like the 35s or the 40 widths, and that would be on my commuting bike when I did bike commute.
Yeah. I ended up getting rid of those because I actually sliced them and decided I wanted faster tires. So I went for the 18s.
There you go. Just super.
Oh, it makes such a difference.
But, like we talked about tires, dollar bills, we talked about patch kits. What about getting the tires off? I would recommend tire levers if you're not used to taking bike tires off. Those are to take the tire off, not to put them on. You don't want to damage the rim. You also don't want to cause a flat trying to use it to pry the tire back on. But if you have a mountain bike or a hybrid, those are generally big enough that you can just rip them right off with your bare hands. It might be hard the first 2 or 3 times, but after that 5th time you've got a flat, you'll be like, oh, this is easy. I can do it.
Well, we should mention...
On that same ride home, the 5th time?
No, then it's harder if it's the same ride home.
Well, we should mention that this is with the inner tube deflated. Yes. Don't try to do it with the tube inflated. It really doesn't work.
You inflate it a little bit so that the tube stays in the tire.
That's when you're putting it back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a big tip too that I think we mentioned last time. Never put the tire back together without inflating the tube at least a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I made that mistake several times and paid for it with new inner tubes.
Oh yeah.
Did it twisted?
Well, it gets pinched.
Yeah. And I'm thinking so how are we going to inflate these tubes, right? There's different ways to them. Oh yeah, just like a balloon. Yeah. You'll be there all day.
It's that first blow, like any balloon, your ears pop and then you finally get it and you go.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of pumps. I've tried the CO2 cartridges. There's just so much in there and it's so fast that you can easily overinflate. So I don't like them, but some people, they're really good at them. They know what they're doing. They're professional riders.
I've had the other issue with those where I'll have to go through 2 cartridges to fill a tire because when I'm having those issues, it's usually on the trail bike with the bigger tires.
Gotcha.
So it usually takes me a couple of the cartridges, but I've been also told that the CO2, you don't want to leave that in the tire because it will actually degrade the rubber in the tubes faster.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a great temporary fix, but as soon as you get home, you're going to have to flatten the tire and then put air in.
Gotcha. That's good to know. I'm a big fan of the Toe Peak Road Morph pumps. And I have one because there's a gauge. So you know exactly how much PSI, pounds per square inch, is going into that tire. But also, there's little flip down feet. So you can actually, if you're kneeling down, whatever foot is not got the knee on the ground can actually step on the little plastic foot and hold it. And it's a lot easier to pump than the ones that don't have it. And they're pretty cheap. They're like $35-$40.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can get those and strap them onto the frame.
Exactly. And you don't have to lose a water bottle mount because they come with a nice plastic guide that's got like these Velcro straps. I use zip ties that holds it on. I'm trying to think of other important tools. Like you wouldn't think it, but an adjustable wrench. I remember I was on a bike ride once, a big group ride. We had like 50 people and somebody had just bought a used bike at a yard sale. It needed a lot of love and their crank arm kept falling off. So that arm that connects your pedal to the center part of your bike, that's where your bottom bracket is. That's the part that, it spins. That arm just kept falling off over and over again. And it was an old bike. And I was like, I got an adjustable wrench in my bag of tricks and I could fix it for them. Not like you really have to have it all the time. it's up to you. If you're riding old bicycles, like we were riding a bunch of the 3-speed Raleighs, we needed that. Some of the old bikes, you would adjust things like your steering, you adjust the headset with a wrench. Nowadays, modern bikes, you're going to be using Allen or hex key wrenches, and those you'll put in. And really, when we're talking about a bike toolkit, the bare essentials, we're talking about a toolkit that's no bigger than my can of cider right here. Like, it's really small, just the bare minimum. But if you want to have a big something for geocaching, weekends, overnights, we can go on and on about all the crazy stuff you can carry.
Well, and you mentioned the Allen hex keys and all this other stuff. You can get these nice little all-in-one kits, and we mentioned them on the last show. What I actually carry is the Topeak Alien 2. It has pretty much every tool you need in the one kit, short of like the tire levelers and that kind of thing. But it comes apart in the two pieces so that you have the opposing tools that you'll need at the same time on the two sides. But it's a tiny little like belt pouch kind of thing. It's really tiny. It's smaller than most of the battery packs for your cell phone.
Yeah, smaller than a flip phone. And it's about knowing your bicycle too, because depending on your bike depends on what you're going to carry. My current bicycle is a single speed bike, and I don't need really any tools. But because I have bolt-on wheels, I need to have that 15 millimeter wrench so I can actually take those bolts off to get my wheels out so I can change a flat. That might be something you need, and maybe something you don't need.
Yeah, and the Topeak Alien 2 does have a lot of those common sizes, but it's not adjustable. And the other thing to mention is it's about knowing the bikes that are with you, because most of the time you're the one who's going to have to go and fix the other bikes.
Oh yeah,
that Topeak Alien 2 multi-tool puts a Swiss Army knife to shame.
Oh yeah.
How many tools are on there?
I want to say it's 20 something.
It's over 20 now.
Yeah.
Well, there's multiple versions of the Alien for sale. The one that I have and like is the 2, because the Alien is a lot smaller, but it's missing a lot of the stuff that I want. And the 3 gets bigger and a lot more expensive, if I remember. But it doesn't really give me anything that I think is worth having with me on the bike.
Yeah, and you'll find that some tools are also, they're multi. So knowing my bicycle, I need that 15 millimeter wrench. I need tire levers. Well, I bought a tool that has both. It's one lever with a wrench. Sometimes, depending on the bike, you need 2 or 3 tire levers to get them off. I happen to be lucky that my bike, I don't really need tire levers, but it's there just in case. So you can always downsize. You can always make it so that you're carrying everything you need in one cargo pant pocket. But you could also do my favorite thing, which is have children work for you. Because there's nothing better than child labor, and there's no better child labor than your own children. So if you're taking your kids places, you're going to need a bike seat, or you're going to need a bike trailer. I like the trailer because then it can carry lunch and change of clothes and water and everything else. When I lived in the city, I had the bike seat, which you could take it off the rack. I was a big fan of the Blackburn Copilot because it comes with a really sturdy, nice rack, and the seat would slide on and lock in place. So I could ride Johnny when he was 1 year old. Wow, 1 year old. He's going to be 7 this summer. But I remember when he was 1 year old, and I would ride him to daycare in what looked like a car seat for a bicycle. And I'd leave the seat there, and then I would ride to work. And then Heather would get out of work to pick him up, and she could snap that bike seat on the back of her bicycle and ride home.
Yep. I remember I was in France, and I was running my daughter around on the bike to different places, big car seat or bike seat, I guess, on the back.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a lot of fun.
And they're fantastic. And we did eventually upgrade. We did get a trailer, and we went all out, and I got the Burley Delight, which is kind of like the most deluxe trailer you can get. It's waterproof. It's got a sun shield, a bug shield. 2 kids can fit side by side. A third illegally can fit in the back. Yes,
You can
I've
stack
done
them
it.
in there like cordwood and get 6 or 7.
Oh yeah. And the great thing about the trailers are when you get to your location, they turn into a stroller. So your trailer is now like a jogging stroller when you lock your bike up somewhere and you want to go explore downtown or wherever you're going, or you're like, oh, I'm going to ride to this park, but I'm going to push the stroller around the park while I go caching and find everything.
I like it.
And then you can carry every tool they've ever made. You can buy everything at your local store and put it in the trailer.
That's where you put your bike stand, the service stand.
Got about your truing stand in case
air
you hit a
compressor
pothole.
for your
I was going to say the air compressor, the generator to run the air compressor,
stove to make pancakes. Yeah, the list
How
just
long
goes
are
on
you
and
fixing
on.
your bike?
and the refrigerator. You can always run the generator on the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your beer cold.
Oh, you have to. It's very, very important.
I need to ride with you guys some more. This is fun.
Okay, you're going to be the Sherpa though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm busy suddenly. Yeah, let me check my calendar. Nope, busy. Sorry.
I may have drank beer and rode a bicycle at the same time before. May have.
Really?
No,
I can't
never.
imagine any cyclist ever drinking beer and riding.
That just wouldn't happen.
Oh, Limax wants to know about the kitchen sink. Does that fit in the trailers?
Yes, and in fact, we got like one of those big old school farmhouse heavy sinks. It just fits perfect. But the trailers are huge. Like, I wish I had a way to explain it better. Like, I don't really feel like bringing the laptop down into the basement just to show you, but those trailers are pretty big. They're like the size of a jogging stroller. That's like the best I can explain it. Like a jogging stroller with a big tent canopy over them.
Well, there are different sizes of the trailer too. One of the guys that I know has a service dog and has the tiny trailer just for the dog.
Mm-hmm. And they've come a long way. The last time I was in the market to buy a trailer was over 6 years ago. Now they've got trailers that carry guitars. I was trying to figure out for years how I could attach a guitar case to a rear rack or something to hold it on. They've got ones for your pets. It goes on and on.
And there are some like utility trailers too, where you can actually, they're designed. Most of them that I've seen are designed either for shopping or for the people who are touring with their tents. So you can throw all your camping gear in there. You've got the ones to take your groceries and all that kind of stuff.
I think we need a little, a rabbit hole to go down, a little segue. We need to go to talk about this for a moment. I'm going to just double check that this website is still working. There's a brand of trailers that we used to use at the bike shop, and they make these modular aluminum trailers. It's bikesatwork.com. They make ones big enough to carry canoes and kayaks. I used to use them to take all the scrap metal to the junkyard when I worked in a shop. You go to their page, front photo is a guy with a mattress and a box spring.
There you go.
And these are great because you can carry anything.
And it looks like they're hub mounts, so it's nice, quick, easy on and off too.
And that's exactly how most trailers for carrying children are, is you get this little bracket that you take off on your rear wheel, you take off that bolt or you take out the quick release and you slide it on. And it's just a piece of metal that's kind of like a U turned on its side. And then there's this metal, like almost like tent stake that goes through it and locks in place.
Let's see. So they have 3 different lengths of trailers from this Bikes at Work. They have a 32, which is your tiny little one, a 64, which is a really good size, and then they have the ginormous 96.
Yep. I have pulled the 96, and I've pulled it full of hundreds of pounds of junk. And if you're not used to a trailer, they're weird. I assume I've never driven with a trailer. I assume it's the same thing where it's kind of like you pull it forward and you lurch forward, and then it catches up to you and it pulls you back, and then it's almost like you get jerked forward, back the whole time.
Yeah, no. They also have a standard and a wide width trailer. and you can do 2 or 4 wheels.
Mm-hmm. And I love this. Haul almost anything.
Yeah, and they're capable of carrying up to 600 pounds.
How are you going to get that going?
Recommend that.
Here in the Northwest, we have a lot of hills.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get that going up a hill.
It's not the uphill that I'm worried about. It's downhill.
Not if you can't get uphill, you don't have to worry about the downhill.
I just worry you're not going to be able to stop going downhill. There's no brakes or anything on these.
No, there's not. So you do a lot of slowing down. I would recommend a geared bike. I did it on a 3-speed, and that was not enough gears. It was very painful. I believe they say they recommend 5 or more. But yeah, it's important to be able to comfortably get what you need where you're going. And then when you get there, how about protecting your investment? Like Chris, you said you just bought a new bike the other day. Mm-hmm. We're talking about trailers that cost hundreds of dollars. You don't want anyone stealing that when you're getting a coffee or an ice cream, or you're signing a first to find, because second to find is so angry that you're first to find. They're just I'm going to steal your bike. I'll show you, Mr. First to Find, ever be first to find again. You're not going to be first to find at the next one down the road.
Oh, man.
So
now what do you do?
So you got to lock your bike up, and it really depends on where you live, how you want to lock your bike up. I'm a big fan of the bolt-on wheels. I actually only buy bikes with bolt-on wheels, but some people like quick release. Maybe they need quick release because that's how their car roof rack works, and they got to take that front wheel off. Or maybe they like it because it's just easier to change a flat. Well, it's also easier to steal. No one's going to steal your wheel unless they're being a jerk. They're not going to be like, oh, I need a wheel for a bike. You're typically going to see the front wheel stolen in the big cities, like when I lived in Boston. So you could get locking skewers, where you then need a special key that they come with. You put on your key ring. Usually it's like a triangle or some weird shape that goes in there, kind of like a hex key, but different shape. So those are good. Or you could, use your typical lock and cable. I like kryptonite locks because they're really the strongest locks you can get out there that are U-lock. And you can run a cable through your wheels and then use a U-lock to lock your bike to something. What I do is I use the kryptonite U-lock for the bicycle to the bike rack. And then I put in the show notes the Abus Combo Lock 1650. So I have a combination lock, so I don't have to worry about a second key. And that just locks the trailer to the bike rack. And I can wear it like a belt if I don't have a backpack, because it's a pretty big cable lock.
See, and I'm a big fan of the cable locks, but you have to get the thick ones that are stranded, because the thin ones are easy to cut. And the U-locks are fairly easy to cut, as well.
With a power tool, they'll cut through them, but they're not going to get through them with, bolt cutters, which will get through a cable lock.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you get one of the good cable locks, they're actually as strong as the U-locks are, as far as, avoiding the cutting through. But one of the reasons I like the cable locks, you get a couple of the same one. Mm-hmm. You can put them together if you need to tie it to a tree or something.
Oh, good thinking.
And a lot of times when we are out in the trail, I've got the lock. Renee will have the same brand lock. Okay, so we can each tie them up at the bike rack, or we find a tree and lock them up together. Because the bikes are really, really thin, and I always lock through the center of the frame, which is important. All too often, you see people who forget to lock it to the part of the bike that can't be taken off,
like a wheel.
And then you go through the front wheel, because that way, the back wheel doesn't come off as easy.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like I'm looking at the show notes, and I was actually going to bring this up. Doug said that he uses a cable for his seat. People do steal bike seats, usually to be jerks, or maybe you have a really nice bike seat. I'm a fan of the leather Brooks saddles. Those tend to be $150, $200. I've had one once that was over $400. People are going to steal those. So you don't want to take your seat with you, because you take your bike seat out, Next time you put it in, it doesn't have as much grease. The seat post might not go in as well, or it might be stuck when you try to get it out down the road. Then you have to spend all that time getting the height right and adjusting the angle right. It's too much work. And then rain can get inside and rust out the inside of the bike. So you don't want to be constantly taking that seat post out. So if you're worried about someone stealing your seat because of where you live, or you have a really fancy bike seat, you can do a lock for that. What I did on my commuter bike is I actually took old bike chain and I ran the chain from the frame through the rails on the bike seat. It scratched the bike up, but I didn't care because this was my rainy day / winter snowy bike.
Okay.
Because who's going to carry a chain tool around just so they can steal a bike seat?
Yeah.
You know, not only someone with like a Alienware 200 tool, Swiss Army knife of bike tools would be able to take it.
And an air compressor and a Sawzall in the
mm-hmm.
thing.
Now, I definitely want to keep talking about bikes and gear and stuff, but it is that time. Has anybody emailed in to win that book?
Oh, we've got a few people who emailed in. Let's take a look at that. One thing that I want to talk about, though, and we can get back into this, is like when you stop on the trail. I've had so much trouble with the dirt and whatnot on the trail and the unevenness that the bike will fall over with the kickstand.
Yes.
And for geocaching, I do recommend a kickstand, but there are some of these newer kickstands where it's more like a letter A frame.
Yes.
So with a little bit wider. And I think that would probably solve the problem, but I've never tried one. Have you actually gotten your hands on one to know if that actually works better in the softer ground?
I haven't tried the A shape. I'm a big fan of Pletcher kickstands. They're the ones where it's like a double kickstand and they both go to the same side when they fold up, and they have nice rubber caps on the end of them. That you spell it Plettscher. They're a little pricey compared to a regular kickstand. Like a regular kickstand's like what, $10? Pletchers are 30.
I was going to say, I think now they're closer to about $15 for a decent cheap one.
But I see what you're talking about, more like a center mount where when it folds up, it's more like a moped where one leg goes on each side of the bike. Where I'm used to the kind where both legs go on the same side, but when they open, they do the A-frame. And those are fantastic, not just for the dirt, but if you have the saddlebags, it's going to keep your bike from falling over from that weight. If you need to change a flat on the rear bike, it actually lifts the rear wheel off the ground a few inches. So it makes changing that flat better. My only regret is I don't have a kickstand on my current bike. And I've been saying for the 3 years I've owned it, I need to buy a kickstand.
Have you bought a kickstand?
No.
That will make it a little bit more challenging to actually get the caches, because you don't always necessarily have that tree to lean the bike against.
Yeah, and even if you do, like, do you want to lean your bike up for something? It gets scratched, it still falls over. It's just nicer to just hop off, kick the kickstand, do what you got to do, get back on.
All right. In the meantime, Wet Coaster is our winner for this week.
Woohoo! Now, did Wet Coaster win the last time I did a bike giveaway?
Wait a minute. Maybe this is rigged.
He does tend to hang out in the chat quite often.
He does.
Even more now that he's visiting in Toronto.
It's very possible. So put in the show notes his email address, and I'll fire off right now the order. He'll be able to start reading the book while we talk.
Yeah, he does say that he think he did win last time.
So he won the tools to fix the bike, and now he's going to have the knowledge to fix the bike.
Ooh, and knowledge is powder.
Powder?
The more you know.
Yep.
Like talc?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It just kind of flakes off. And, you eventually it just all goes away.
Nice.
I don't think you're doing it right.
No.
I don't remember what movie that was from. I cannot take credit for it though.
You
not
don't
sure
have
I
to.
want
Don't
to.
worry about it.
Mhm. And there's other stuff we didn't talk about or we didn't plan on talking about. Like bike mounts for your phone or your GPS is important. The three of us were talking about that before the show started.
Mm-hmm.
I've never used one. I know, Daryl, you mentioned you had your opinion on a few.
Yeah, and I've used a few of them. Of course, my favorite tend to be the Biologic that I mentioned before. Don't have one yet for my iPhone 7, but I do also for those. And what we talked about before the show is there's really kind of two different modes for the bike mounts. One is you're going to use it on the trail, while it's on the bike, and then the other is you're just transporting it so that you don't have to stash it in your bag or so that if you need it, it's right there.
Mhm.
But my preference for the using it is like the Biologic, where it's a case that's custom built for the phone that gives you some protection. It's an all-weather case, kind of like what people think of like the OtterBox, but it's built to mount to the bike with a quick release. Because I did actually hit some nice muddy silt one time. Took a dive on the bike. I almost destroyed the bike. I mean, I gave up on fixing it because it was a 10, 12-year-old bike that needed a whole bunch of parts that were more expensive than just replacing it. But the phone came off the bike, which is important. It's supposed to do that. Went skidding in the case. The case had some skid marks on it. No problems at all with the phone. It just perfect condition. And it was an easy case to use. So that's why I like my Biologics. It's a good, durable case that is specific to a phone. So, you're going to have to rebuy it every time you buy a new phone, but really does a good job. However, at the total opposite end of the spectrum, Night Eyes has this really cool transport case so that you can, or mount so that you can bungee it. Essentially, it's, got the bungee strap built on. You basically bungee it to the bike, the holder, bungee your phone onto that, and you can see it. So if you want to do like the Map My Ride or any of the fitness apps, it's got that up there. You can keep, Pokemon Go or whatever open, but you can't really use it because the bungee covers the screen. It's just, you can kind of see the top and the bottom and a little bit of the middle where the bungee doesn't necessarily cover. So, not something that you really want to use. No protection, but it does work with the case on the phone, so you don't have to take it out of the case like you do with a lot of the other ones like the Biologic. So it's a great commuter type case. Put it definitely in the durable Defender case or whatever it is that you have from Griffin, strap it onto the bike and you can go. If you have multiple phones that you're going through, like I know some people who have 2 or 3 different phones that they have to go through every couple of months for work. You don't want to get something that's specific. So, it's a good option for those kind of users. Not something I'd necessarily want to take on the trail, though. It's for commuter type use.
Yeah. And also, if you have a GPS, they do make mounts. I did buy the Garmin bicycle mount for my bike. I just haven't installed it yet.
I have it. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's technically a motorcycle mount. Same idea. It's a handlebar mount.
Exactly.
It doesn't,
Yeah, and you get into the RAM mounts. They make some great stuff that's specific, and they all use the same ones. You can, I've got too many GPSs, and I have a mount or two for, the different GPSs, and I can just swap them in and out depending on what I'm doing.
Daryl, for all your GPSs.
I need more handlebar period because I've got the cycle computer. Actually, the newest bike, I don't even have a cycle computer on it. The cell phone is my cycle computer. But you get the cycle computer, you've got the cell phone mount, you've got your GPS mount, you've got your headlight. It just gets insane. And
don't forget your little ringy bell.
Bells are important. We didn't talk about that. So bells
or
real
horns.
Quick.
I want the air horn.
Oh yes. Oh, I would have
Pulling
loved
the air
that.
compressor behind again.
Well, think about it. If
No,
you're
you can
going
use the CO2 cartridges.
or paintball gun, just pew, pew,
There you
pew.
go.
But you're on the bicycle path, or you're riding through the city geocaching. And who is in your way? Muggles.
Oh yeah.
Muggles are always in the way. They're ruining everything. I know. I'm reading Harry Potter to Johnny. He's loving it right now. But Muggles are so they're drinking their coffee nice and slow. They're having conversation. They're exercising. Who exercises? And
No,
they're doing
they're
it
looking
with.
at their phones and
They're
not
doing it
paying
with.
attention.
Oh yeah, exactly. They're walking their children in strollers. They've got earbuds in. So you got to have a good bell because, excuse me, hi, pardon me, on your left doesn't work. So unless you want to be like, on your left, and throw your U-lock at them, you're going to have a little ding ding. And there's all kinds of bells out there. So yeah, there's like the clown horn one, and there's bar end ones. If you don't want a bell on your handlebars that's like in the way, it doesn't go with your look, they actually make ones that I like where they go into the end of your handlebars instead of that little plug after you put on grips or you wrap them with tape. But you got to have that because it's just a safety issue. You don't want to crash into someone. Yes, they'll get hurt. You'll get hurt, but you're going to be the one with a broken bicycle who can't ride home, and they can just walk to their car and drive home.
All right, one more thing, because we do have to wrap this up, that I wanted to mention, because we were talking about racks for your bike, the car racks to take your bike from point A to point B. If you get the hitch mounts, the hitch-mounted racks that support it by the top bar, which doesn't always work for all bikes. So, make sure it's going to work with your bike before you get it. One of the things I love doing when I had a hitch mount, which granted was like 10 years ago, is mount the bike on the mount furthest from the car. And you can use that as the service stand. So you can get the bike all cleaned up, get all that lime off of the frame and off the gears that's going to destroy it. And I'd actually bring like the full toolkit to do this because riding the Clinton River Trail was really nasty. And we knew so many cyclists who forgot to clean the chain and destroyed their chains and gears just because of the lime. So it was a really handy way to just throw it up there, run the chain cleaner, wipe it down. We'd, take whatever water we had left over in our water bottles, rinse off the frame and wipe it down. And so it's a nice tool to have if your bike support it. And unfortunately, I got to get a new rack for the new car and can't get one of those racks. I've got to get a what they call a lower support rack. Because the girlfriend's bike doesn't have a top bar.
So, Daryl, since it was lime, you were using coconut water, right?
With the lime. Okay, no, we're not going to go there. All right, Daniel, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Sharing it and giving away prizes. People always love those prizes.
Well, before we take off, I just want to thank everyone in the chat room. It's great to do a live show. The whole reason I got into listening to this show and other shows is because of that live interaction. Yes, you can just listen to a podcast, but it's more fun to have, be part of it and be part of the community. So thanks for participating, guys.
And before we go, we should mention that Wet Coaster says he believes a horn or bell is required in Alberta. And that is the case in many situations. Not necessarily even just like a city or a state has that to ride on the roads or on the sidewalks. But I've even seen some of the trail systems that require some kind of alert if you are on a cycle. And
if you're on a trail, I know that Burris will get so mad at me, Doc Firewoman, if I don't say this. When you approach a horse, pull over and get off the bicycle because you don't want to scare the horse. It's going to be skittish of you. It's not that we don't trust how well you ride, but you going 2 miles an hour past it can still scare it and buck the rider off. So if you see a horse, get off your bike for that 30 seconds while you say hi and go by.
Nice.
All right. Now, I don't usually like to plug unrelated fundraisers on the show, so it's a good thing that we're talking about biking tonight. Next month, I'm going to be doing a ride for the Great Cycling Challenge, which raises money to fight children's cancer. And this is a fun one for anyone who might want to try to get involved with this. Maybe even next year we'll try to put a team together. Dano, you want to do a team next year for this?
That would be fun. I haven't done a ride in forever. I used to ride for St. Jude's all the time as a kid.
It's the
money.
Same kind of thing. This one's, children's cancer. But I think it might be fun to try a GeoGearHeads thing. But it's just, you have to ride, whatever your goal is. It's not a specific ride anywhere you want. So my goal is just to get 62 miles for the entire month of June. So that's only about 2 miles a day. I think I can do it, but
that's just one multi-cache.
I haven't been out. No, I'm not going to be doing the multi-caches.
Well, when you guys come to Portland, Maine, I have a multi-cache. It's 11 miles round trip, and it's all paved bike path.
So I just have to do that 6 times, and it'd be all set.
Done.
But I really would appreciate right the first time, Daryl. You're going to have to go back anyway.
Yeah, well, and if it's like most of the multi-caches, I'll have to go back 3 or 4 times and spend an hour searching for that missing stamp.
You go from point A to point B, turn around and go right back, and you pass not 1 but 2 breweries. Oh. Do I know how to plan a multi-cache or what?
A multi-cache for the cyclist. All right, anyway, so I'd really appreciate your support, and if I really could use the motivation, to be honest, but if you can, head over to the show notes and click on the link to make a donation to the Children's Cancer Research Fund and help support me in my ride for the Great Cycling Challenge.
Nice. Hey, while you're clicking over at that link, don't forget we have some upcoming shows. Now, next week, we're having a guy who spends a lot of time in the chat, but he spent a lot of time researching as well. That's going to be Limax talking about GPS tech. May 25th is another randomized show. This is Randomize La Vie with Coach V. June 1st, we're going to do caches along a route. That's a very useful tool. I use it quite often. June 8th, we're going to talk about logging, and it doesn't involve trees.
Check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Hoffenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. This show is copyright 2017 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.